Hey guys, it's Plasma Scream, and recently I've seen a video that was ranking all the followers in Skyrim, and I disagree with an awful lot of it. Some of it was accurate, but a lot of it was just, built on bias and just, liking the look and the voice and the personality of the follower, and that's all fine and good, but I wanted to make a list in a video that ranked all the followers in Skyrim specifically on their stats and their individual capabilities and value in a fight. Because while it is important for you to appreciate the visuals and the voices of your companions, it's also important for them to be able to actually be worth something in a fight and actually be able to do their job and not just carry things around, but also be able to carry their own weight in battle and not get you killed. And so I made this list of every single follower in the game that did not include any of the ones that are in the Creation Club. There is one in the Creation Club that is pretty freaking good because you can actually use him alongside your other followers, so you can have two at once. But I'm not going to go over those because not everybody has that. However, everyone should have the Dawnguard DLC and Dragonborn DLC, so those followers are included. So let's start from the very bottom, all the way at the lowest rank, which is D rank. Before I go into this, I want to say that when ranking these followers, typically I have people who have strong proficiency in archery higher than ones that don't, and I have characters who have a strong proficiency in magic higher over characters that don't, because you gotta be a really 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 powerful warrior to be ranked very high in this list, because the mages, like, what they might be squishy, they might have lower stats than other characters, but the thing is, it doesn't matter as long as they have enough magicka to keep throwing out spells. They And the way that the playstyle is, they always keep like away from the enemy. They always stay away from the threats, so they never actually get hit. Mages tends to keep back and throw spells at the enemies, and as a result, and as a result of that aggressive and also kind of defensive playstyle that they have, it doesn't really matter if what level they are or what their health looks like or what armor they're wearing, because they're never going to get hit anyway. They're just going to cook and scorch and zap and freeze anybody before they even get close to them, so they'll never get hit regardless. Anyway, there are a lot of followers in this game that are very just generic in terms of like their stats. When I start scrolling here for a second, you're going to see how many characters look just exactly the same with stats and the skills. Like, they're just nothing to differentiate them except the name and look and the voice, and that's it. Besides that, like, there's nothing different about them. Anyway, so here we are at D rank. There's just 3 followers here, but these ones are so bad that I have to say they are worse than everybody else, and for so many reasons. The level that they cap out at, the god awful skills that they were given for no reason, and the fact that they are always a lower level than you for some reason. Almost all followers are the same level as you, with very few exceptions. And for whatever reason, Bethesda made these 3 right here lower level than you. And considering they're already low level, that's just terrible. So you have Adalesa Vendici. This is that lady with the Imperial armor that you help in the Rise in the East quest. And she only has a couple of skills that are like worth anything. For whatever reason, she's wearing heavy armor, but she's got proficient in light armor. I don't understand why they do that. You'll see that a lot here. For whatever reason, they gave her the most proficiency in skills like alchemy, enchanting, and smithing, which followers cannot actually make any use of. They can't. They don't make potions. They don't enchant. They don't make weapons and give them to you for use. They don't do any of that. They don't make none of that. I don't get why they gave this as a skill. Like basically, if it's not combat related, if it's not, you know, if you're not doing damage or using spells or taking hits, they can't actually use that skill as a follower. You can, but followers can't. Um, Sneak that's different. They can actually make use of sneak, but they're not gonna be like backstabbing anybody, so they can't use it a whole lot. And of course, like speech is irrelevant. So a lot of useless skills here that they can't do much with. And the thing is, like the words you see like closer to skills, like usually it's like two, sometimes like three. Those ones are actually like most proficient at, like they're higher leveled than the other skills. Like the first ones you read here, like alchemy, enchanting, smithing, these are like 2 to 3 of those words of skills are actually like higher than the other ones. Um, so you can see their best skill is alchemy and enchanting and smithing, while their combat skills are actually lower, which means they're not that good at combat, while also just you know being a low level and always being lower level than you. So like they're just barely better than these two what I'm about to go into, but like just the only reason I never use this follower is if maybe you were like playing some kind of Imperial character, like in the Imperial army, and you wanted someone to kind of like role play with that, because she is wearing Imperial armor. I don't know if she was in the Imperials or not, but like you could do something with that. But I still think you would probably be better off with like one of the orcs, because orcs tend to be involved with the Imperials, so you'd be better off doing that. And there's even one that actually was in the Imperials at one point. So you'd be better off for those. They're better in like every aspect. And then you got these two. They're basically the exact same, and they're both garbage, complete trash. These are the two most bottom of the barrel followers in the entire game. These guys are just awful, just complete crap. Their stats are trash. The level, trash. The skills, again, trash. Why is it alchemy, enchanting, and smithing are their best skills? Why are the actual combat-related skills that they have, archery, one-handed, two-handed, why are those the weakest? Why do they not come with any armor-related skills? Why are they like 25? It's not 25. It's 75% lower level than the player. So like if you're level 20, they would be like level 15 if I remember correctly. Like they're just bad. Also, don't pick Sven. The whole like love triangle thing going on in Riverwood. This is why you don't pick Sven. Number one, he's just a horrible person. And number two, he's the worst follower in the game. Out of all these people, all of them. This guy, the worst one. Like, even if you want some kind of like RPG bard with you, I still wouldn't do it. Because he's so god awful. Please just pick Feindal. Feindal's not the best follower in the game. He's alright. But he's better than Sven. And he's just morally the correct decision. Just don't leave Sven alone. He's just a weirdo, and he sucks, and he stinks. Don't pick him. Rocky Notbeard is the exact same as him. They're practically identical. They're both unpleasant and just completely worthless. They're not ever worth any kind of thought. Okay, so that's D rank. Not many people in there. And then you got C rank. C rank. All these guys and girls are practically the same. They're all level 30. They're all level 25. They got no perks on them. They got no magic except one guy. And some of them don't even have good skills. Like the ones you see up here, I'll start from the top. The ones up here kind of do, but there's no perks and the level cap is low, so it's like they're pretty basic, I would say. These are very, very basic followers. A lot of these are like just random people. A lot of them are like the people from the orc tribes. They're all the same, like same skills and stuff. Hardly any difference. None of them have any perks. So yeah, a lot of these are just completely random people. I do like some of these guys for like RPG related stuff. Like Ottar, he's an executioner. That's pretty cool. Some of these are like low level companions, as you see here, like Rhea, Aethys, Torvar. Farkas is very disappointing here. Like he's what keeps him out of D rank is the fact that he's very high level at 50. But his skills are so weird. Like his class that they gave him as an NPC is a blacksmith. But like, and also he wields a two-handed weapon, but they gave him proficiency in one-handed. I don't understand why they did this. And again, smithing, speech, pickpocket, followers can't make use of any of that. Like they're not gonna be smithing weapons. They're not gonna be, you know, talking their way out of confrontations. They're not gonna be pickpocketing anybody. You know, that's what you do as a player. They don't do that. Why do they have these things? Doesn't make any sense. And why is he one-handed, not two-handed? How does that make any sense? And why does he have no armor skill? Like not even light armor. He's wearing heavy armor, but they could have given light armor. But he doesn't. He doesn't have either one. Heavy or light. He has nothing. All he has as a follower is a high level and one-handed. And I guess you can do the whole like, if you get him as a follower, you can buy heavy armor training and take the money back. But that's it. That's all he has going for him. He's got like nothing, and it's not fair because he's a cool character. And he's also a companion too, and he's a werewolf. Like he's got so many cool things about him, but it's just as a follower, he's just crap, and it's a shame. And then Erander, this is another shame because like his class is a priest. He should, be able to like heal you and stuff, but he doesn't even know any healing spells. Like there's some other followers up here that actually do have healing spells. I don't know if they use them or not, but like they know them. It's in the files. They do know these spells. Like, and he doesn't. He's the one character who's supposed to be about like, he's literally a priest, and his best skill is restoration. But he has no healing spells, and also with his stats, his magicka caps out at 50. Like before you give him any gear, it's set 50 magicka. For reference, the player has 100 at level 1. So why is his so low? Why did you give him magic, but then give him no magicka? How does that make any sense? You give him fireball, but he can throw it out like once or twice, and then he runs out of magicka. And he has no destruction capabilities either. You give him conjuration, and he never summons anything. Like, this guy makes no sense. The one thing going for him is he's got a high level. That's the only thing. And also that, like, he's always 50% higher level than the character. That's pretty good. But the problem is, like, that's all he has going for him. His level is the only thing he has going for him. If he was like 25, 30, maybe even 40, I'd probably have him in D rank. Like, he is so close to being D rank. That is the only thing keeping him out of there, is he got a high level. But everybody else here, completely unremarkable. Nothing good or bad to say about them. They're just average, meh, bland, vanilla followers that are all like... Some of them are pretty cool, like Dirkethus. That's an Argonian, the only Argonian follower in the game. Shame he's not, like, that interesting, in a fight. But, like, it's cool that... he's an Argonian, so if you want one as a... Say you're playing an Argonian, or you want one as a follower, for whatever reason, you can, Same for Faendal. That's a Wood Elf follower. If you want one of those, you can have one. But, like, besides that, unfortunately, not a whole lot to say about these guys. Carjo, that's another thing. He's a Khajiit, If you want a Khajiit follower, there you go. But a lot of these guys are just really not that interesting, unfortunately. If you can use these people if you want, but there's a lot better options. With that said, I want to make a note. No matter how bad any of these guys and girls are, let me say, with proper enchanting and smithing and alchemy, if you want to go that route, you can make any of these people strong, and you can make any of these people, good. And if you really want to go crazy with it, you can make any of them, like, OP, but I don't want to, like, weigh that as, reasons for making, any of these people, like, in their placements. Like, I don't want to say, like, oh, so-and-so can be S rank, even though they're crap, because you can just enchant their gear and give them, like, a weapon that can one-shot Alduin and everything else in the game. Like, no, we're not talking about that. I do want to, like, have enchanting and smithing valued here in this list ranking, because I think it is important for you to give your follower some enchanted gear and smith up weapons. But, like, we're not going overboard with it. We're not doing like 2 million health stat and 2 billion armor rating with 300,000 million magic. Like, none of that, okay? We're not going overboard with it. We're enchanting and smithing for these guys so that they can actually use some good equipment, but within reason. We're not going crazy with it, because I think you should use that with any follower to make sure they can pull their weight and stand out and make use of some of their perks, but like and their spells. But we're not going crazy with it. So now we're going to C rank. Getting out of C rank, going to B rank. This is where we start only having a couple like average followers, but this is where we kind of start going to the special followers that have really nice qualities. You start seeing some perks. Not everyone has perks, but these guys is where you start seeing them. So start from the bottom. A lot of these are going to be mercenaries and housecarls. And unfortunately, the only thing those guys have going for them is being high leveled, 40 to 50. That's it. They don't have any perks. They don't have any special qualities, except one of them. One of them does, and we'll get to that. But, well, two of them actually. But everyone else is pretty bland, So, Eric the Slayer, Stenvar, Vilcus, he's a companion. But his high level is what gets him here in his good skills. Vorstag, Gregor, Lydia, Jordis, Iona, Calder, Argus. That's like all of the mercenaries and the housecarls, the ones that are like 40 and 50 right here. They all have pretty similar skills. The only thing that really differentiates them from each other is the name, the face, the voice. About it. Not a whole lot. They're practically identical, and some of them even have the same voice. So we'll get out of there. Now you see this guy at level 30, and you might ask, why is this guy at level 30 higher than these guys at level 50? How does that make sense? Well, these guys don't have perks. They're very bland. They're very vanilla. They have nothing going for them but their level. While this guy has a lot of perks, and a lot of good ones too. His skills are pretty good. He's got it one-handed and two-handed, but best of one-handed. He's good with heavy armor. He can block, and he's got all these perks too. Champion stance is, I think, with two-handed, it's like makes your two-handed attacks do, like your power attacks do more damage and cost less stamina, I think. Deflect arrows if you're using a shield and it blocks an arrow, does 0 damage, pretty good. Fighting stance is with one-handed weapons, it's the same thing as the two-handed weapons, where your power attacks do more damage and cost less stamina. Hack and slash makes like your axes do bleed damage. It's not a lot, but it's something. Limb splitter is, I think that's like the two-handed version of hack and slash, or if you use like a battle axe, it makes it do bleed damage. Tower of strength is pretty cool. If you like, if their follower gets hit with if they're wearing a full set of heavy armor, and they get hit with a power attack, it makes it so they stagger less. And if they're staggered less, that means they're not like wasting time getting like reacting to the attack. Like they get hit and like they barely react to it, and they just go right back to attacking or blocking or whatever they're doing. And then well fitted, I believe, is a perk in the heavy armor tree that makes it so if they have a full set of heavy armor, I want to say it's like 4 random pieces of heavy armor. I don't remember which one it's called. That's the full set of maybe a full set of ebony or a full set of Daedric. I don't remember which one this is, but it's one of those where if you're wearing 4 pieces of heavy armor, you get an armor bonus. So automatically this guy gets a bonus by wearing a full set of armor. That's all the same type. So that's really good. Because these guys down here, they don't have that. They do have proficiency in heavy armor, but he's got more, even though he's a low level. So because of these perks that I just listed, he will actually be much better, than these guys. Janasa, I have Janasa and Aola here because they have one of their main skills is archery. A lot of these guys do have one of their skills is archery, but it's a minor skill. While for them too, it's a major skill. It's like they are, rangers. Shh, it's okay. Shh. Sorry, that's my dog. So, and like I said earlier, I did rank the rangers higher than the warriors because they're not going to get hit because they stay away from the fight and they use, their ranged options to hit the enemies from afar, which is really nice. Makes it so they, in a way, it makes it so they have better survivability because they're not getting hit. And then Ayla even has like some proficiency in the sneak if you like to have any followers with your sneaky characters. Raya is one of the best house girls because she can actually dual wield. Now here's the thing. You can make any follower dual wield, but you have to go through this complicated process of going and finding a Forsworn, killing them, or unaliving them. Getting the Forsworn sword or axe, either one can work. And then whatever weapon of your choosing. And give them the first weapon. And then give them a Forsworn sword or axe. And then they will dual wield the weapon and the sword or axe that you gave them. It's weird that you have to do that in order to make them dual wield, but that's what you gotta do, unfortunately. There's also the fact that with followers, they will use whatever bow you give them, but only the default iron arrows that they have. They'll never run out of the iron arrows, which is good, but it's just plain iron arrows. If you want to make them use custom arrows, you have to give them a Forsworn bow, and then they'll use the different arrows. Like if you want to make them use Daedric arrows or Dragonbone or whatever you like, you have to give them a Forsworn bow. The good thing is you can still like enchant and smith up the Forsworn bow, so if you can still make it like strong, even though it's an ugly Forsworn bow. But it's basically you gotta choose. Do you want them to have a cool bow or cool arrows? But anyway, Raya can dual wield without having to do any of that nonsense. You can give her 2 weapons of any kind, one-handed, and she will dual wield them. When you actually get her, she's already dual wielding 2 scimitars, so that shows you that she's able to do that. So you don't have to give her anything Forsworn in terms of one-handed weapons. She can already dual wield with anything. You can give her like a Daedric sword and a Mirax sword, or 2 Dragonbone swords, or maybe like a glass mace and a orcish war axe, whatever you want. Like as long as it's 2 weapons, she can duel with them. Then you got Onmund. This is where you start seeing some better mages. He has a strong destruction spell and chain lightning, and also has augmented shock. This is where you start seeing some perks. Augmented shock will make his chain lightning even stronger. It says he has invisibility, though I'm not sure if he'll actually use that in combat or not. If he does, it's pretty cool. But if not, then it is what it is. Chain lightning is pretty good. And then of course fast healing, which is nice to have as a follower. It means they can heal themselves. So you don't have to heal them. They can just heal themselves. And then he has proficiency in destruction, so his chain lightning will do. It'll cost less magicka. You can give him a weapon if you want. And the cool thing about having proficiency in one-handed and having augmented shock, if you give him a weapon that's enchanted with shock damage, or say the chaos enchantment, which has partly shock damage on it, it'll actually boost the damage of that enchantment because of the augmented shock perk. So whenever you see someone who has like augmented shock, fire, or frost, and you give them like a fire damage or frost or shock or chaos damage weapon, it'll make that enchantment on that weapon even stronger. So in a way, when you see those perks, that means those followers are very good warriors, potentially, if you give them weapons like that. He's probably one of the most like basic mages, but he's still pretty good because he has like a strong adept level of destruction spell, good skills. He's even got like heavy armor, so you can deck him out in some heavy armor, and he'll be better protected by it. And he can work with a weapon too, so he's got some good stuff going for him. Then you got Belrand. He doesn't have that strong of destruction spells, but he does have some good perks. And the cool thing about mages is if they don't have access to good destruction spells by default, you can actually set them up with staffs, and you can make them. You can like craft staffs in the Dragon Ball DLC or in the with the new creations they gave you. Like there's like some houses they put in the game that you can like like Mirror Watch, where they have staff enchanters you can use to make staffs for your followers. And say like you want one to have a Staff of Incinerate, which is an expert level destruction spell, but they don't know it naturally, you know, because like that's a pretty rare spell for these guys to have. You're not going to see that very often, you know. But you can make a Staff of Incinerate, or whatever staff you want, or whatever stuff you can find, and you can give it to them, and they'll use it, and they'll use it a lot too. Like, they will use those staffs, which is great. And it's best to give staffs like that, like really good and powerful staffs, to followers who already have like a high level and a lot of perks to do with destruction. Like, you know, like if they have like Augmented Frost, and you give them a staff of like Ice Storm or Icy Spear, they'll get more damage out of those staffs. And also, if they have high proficiency in like destruction, they'll get more uses out of those staffs too. Like, it'll take longer for the charges to run out, and you have to use a soul gem on them. So if they have a lot of, you know, like say 100 destruction or something, they'll get a lot of uses out of those staffs. Same goes for conjuration in terms of like, you know, conjuring Atronachs and stuff. They'll get to summon a lot of people, or a lot of allies. This guy, he has a spell sword, so he gets, you know, he's got good proficiency in armor, destruction, you know, one-handed, he can heal himself, so he's not a crazy mage, but he does have a lot of good things going for him. If you wanted to use him and you decked him out in some good gear, he would definitely be not too bad. Then you got Voldemort. He is the House Carl of Morthal. If you get a house over there and you become Thane, they give you this guy. Doesn't have any crazy destruction spells, but he does have some good perks, a good level, some great skills, and some decent spells too. He gets one-handed heavy armor, alteration, destruction, and restoration, all 5 good skills. And Close Wounds is a pretty good restoration spell, and he does have some perks to make it so he heals even more, so that's great. Turn Undead is situational, but it can be useful. Lower level, because you know it's like only level like 18 or something, level Draugr. And then Stoneflesh is nice too, because it's free armor rating, makes him even tankier, so that's cool. You know, perks like Augmented Frost, which will make his Ice Spike even stronger, or if you give him like a Staff of Ice Storms or Staff of Icy Spear, it'll make the attacks from that staff strong too. And it'll also, because he's good at one-handing, if you give him like a Daedric Sword of Frost or Chaos, it'll make that weapon hit really hard because it was high one-handed proficiency and his perks for the frost damage. So that will make him a very good, you know, warrior or spell sword. And then he's got some other stuff too for like his armor and, you know, his you know, healing and stuff. Okay. Now we're getting to the A rank. This is where you start seeing some really good followers, and a lot of these guys, you know, you'll start seeing stuff like that they're essential. If a follower is essential, they're automatically going to be really high placed. Like, that's so appreciated, you know, because they're never going to die, you know. No matter what you do, no matter what anybody does, no matter what happens, they're never going to die. Never have to worry about them. That's just really appreciated. So first you got Cicero. He doesn't really have any perks, but the fact that he is level 50 and is essential is pretty decent. He's good with one-handed. He's good at sneaking, so if you wanted to have a follower as you're an assassin or a Night Blade or whatever have you, he'd be one of the better ones to use. However, pretty outclassed by the Dark Brotherhood Initiates. They don't have as much like character as him, but we're not considering that in this list. We only care about the stats and the spells and the perks and all that. So if you take all that away, these guys are way better because they have much higher stats and they are also essential. They're basically just like him except without the, you know, the voice and all that. So if you don't mind all that, if you want a more boring follower but better than Cicero, then there you go. Literally twice as good. Ingjard is one of the Dawnguard followers. She's the third best one, however, she doesn't come with any perks like the other two that we'll get into later. But the fact that she has no level cap, and this is where you start seeing these characters with no level cap, you can level up your character as much as you want, as high as you want, and their level will mirror yours. And as a result, their stats will reflect their level as well, which will be so high. So if you like high level characters who have like points in every skill and like skill points in every tree, these followers are going to be really good for you because they're going to have stats just crazy. Like, they're really good. She doesn't come with any perks, but that level is nuts. So, she's not essential, but basically you can make her essential if you really wanted to, because of that high HP. Mule is probably the best two-handed follower and one of the best tanks as well, because she actually has a really, really high health stat. Like the formula that is made for her health stat in particular is really, really high. So she's a great tank, and she's always higher level than you too. So even low level, she's really good. Like, she's really good, and she's essential. Like, she's got all these perks. She's so good. She's hard to get because you got to go through a whole Dwemer dungeon to get Grimsever, the weapon you need to give her. But if you're willing to do it, she is a really freaking good follower. She's very tanky. She hits very hard. As you see, she has perks in both heavy armor and two-handed, and she has high health stats. She's just good at like everything she does. So she's really nice and one of the better ones. Definitely a high class follower. Marcario, very easy to get him because you can just go right into his little tavern and you can buy him for 500 gold. He's like not the best mage, but he's a pretty good one. He comes with chain lightning, can't complain about that. Comes with augmented shock, which means stronger chain lightning. Does get closed wounds, pretty good healing spell. Does get stone flesh along with mage armor and turn undead, all very good. Skills are pretty good: destruction, restoration, alteration, for what it's worth, sneak, and a whole list of good perks. Can't really complain about any of that. And level 40 is pretty good too. Talvas. This is the guy that is in Master Nelof's place, the big mushroom place. That's his apprentice. You get him as a follower, I think, after you defeat the Ash Guardian that he messes up and lets loose outside the Telmithrim. That's when you unlock him, I'm pretty sure. So the problem with him, but also like one of the best things about him is he has like all these great spells and his skills are very good and he's a crazy amount of perks, but his stats are very low. Like, he's got level 25 level cap and his actual stats don't get to be that high, like his health, magic, and stamina. But you can circumvent that by giving him enchanted armor and jewelry that have like fortify magic, fortify health, magic resistance, all that stuff to make up for the low stats. And then when you do that, then that makes them really, really good. Now, yes, you could say that for any follower, but when you do that for someone who would really appreciate it, like Talvas and some other we'll get into later, then you get a really, really powerful follower on your hands. Because, like, look at these spells. Iron Flesh, like, we've just seen Stone Flesh and stuff. Like, this is Iron Flesh. It's even better. Conjure Frost Atronach. He gets to conjure Atronachs on his own. No staves needed. Fireball, Ice Storm, both adept destruction spells. Very good. He comes with, like, augmented flames, too, to make his fireballs even better. Augmented Shock. Although I don't think he gets any lightning spells. Impact, if he dual casts spells, then he's gonna actually stagger the enemies just like you would. Mage armor, magic resistance, necromage, so he does more damage to undead. There's a lot of undead in Skyrim. Draugr and 1 second. Come on, turn on. Draugr, Dragon Priest. Those like fire zombies you fight in Soulstime. Ashbond, is that what they're called? Yeah, those guys, they're undead. There's all kinds of undead enemies that you fight in this game, and he does more damage to all of them, so that's great. Recovery, regeneration, Stability makes like your alteration spells last longer, so when he casts Iron Flesh, it lasts longer on him. So he's got, Summoner, which makes it so he can summon Atronachs at a further distance, pretty good. Ward Absorb, and he does come with Steadfast Warp, so that's cool. If he gets hit with a magic, and he's got a ward up, he'll actually absorb the magic that he got hit with the ward, and it'll go into his Magicka pool. So he'll like heal his Magicka with the ward, so that's pretty sick. And if the cool thing is, if you give him Spellbreaker, Ward Absorb works with Spellbreaker. So he could have the shield up, get hit with like, I don't know, a Dragon's Breath, and it will just completely heal his Magicka pool. So that's really sick. And followers will use shields. J'zargo, this is another one of those guys that you need to like load up with special gear to make them really good. Like he has a high ceiling, but if you don't give him anything, he's very poor. So J'zargo has no level cap, so he can level with you infinitely, which means his stats can get really high, and he's got good skills. Destruction, heavy armor, one-handed, all very good. But the problem is his spells suck. Paralyze is cool, though I'm not sure if he uses that or not, but the UESP does say that he does know Paralyze. But in terms of destruction spells, like Fireball, Ice Spike, Lightning Bolt with no perks, I mean, that's just apprentice level destruction spells. Like, that's not very strong. Because someone who has no level cap needs to have destruction spells that will scale with that. Like, expert level destruction spells. And he doesn't have that. But you can help with that by giving him staffs. Like a Staff of Incinerate, or a Staff of Icy Spear, or a Staff of Fireballs, or a Staff of Ice Storms, or Chain Lightning, or whatever have you. Like, if you give him those kind of staffs, he will get a lot of uses out of those staffs because of his high destruction skill, and it will take a while for him to have those staffs recharged. And that will actually make up for the fact that he doesn't get many strong spells. So then you have a really high level follower who has access to really high level destruction spells. But the only thing is, he doesn't have any perks, so it's a little bit of a downfall. Berlina is going to be the best college follower. She only has a level cap of 30, but the best things about her is she has a really good list of spells and perks. She gets Fireball, she can conjure Frost Atronachs, she can conjure Flame Atronachs, she gets Iron Flash, and High Alteration, so it doesn't cost much magic to use it. Fast healing, pretty good. And then she gets some good perks too. Atromancy makes her Atronachs last longer, so if they don't die, they last longer in the fight until they go back to Oblivion. Augmented Flames makes her fireballs do more damage. Mage Armor, when she goes for Iron Flesh, makes it even better. Really good. Magic Resistance, self-explanatory. Recovery makes her magic regeneration better. And then regeneration. One of those is for like the amount of health you get back when you heal, and one of those is magic regeneration. I don't remember which one's which, but like that's what those are. So very, very, very good. And then we get the S rank. These are the top tier best followers in the game by far. These guys and girls are just completely nuts, bonkers, just disgusting. They get like so many good qualities and perks, and they're just the best of the best, and it's not close. Like, these are the top tier best followers. Okay, so we'll start from the bottom. Selon and Durak are the best Dawnguard followers, like in the Fort Dawnguard. They have no level cap, so they will level with you infinitely. They have a whole list of perks, including one very special one that only a couple followers have. It's called Extra Damage. Pretty self-explanatory what that does, you'd think, right? All their damage sources, bows, spells, if they have any, weapons, just do more damage by default. So by default, these followers are just stronger than all the other ones. Like all these here, they're just stronger. Except one, but we'll get into them later. They're just naturally stronger than all the other followers because of this perk. It's just 50% stronger damage from everything they do. That's crazy. from their bows and weapons, all of it. They're just stronger. That's just amazing, you know. And they get perks too to make their stuff even better. Like Selen, he's got perks for his, swords, Blazeman. Um, he's got perks for his, his power attacks, fighting stance. If you want to give him axes, you can hack and slash. For his armor, custom fit, and then of course, extra damage. And then Durak is basically the archery equivalent of Selen. Instead of focusing on one-handed, he focuses on archery and light armor instead of heavy armor. So he is going to be one of your best of the best rangers because he actually gets access to archery related perks and he gets extra damage. So his arrows are going to be hitting really, really, really hard. Even more so when you give him an enchanted bow that's smithed up. Like a Daedric Bow of Chaos is going to hit like for stupid numbers. And he's going to be a really, really good follower to have against any mages or dragons or dragon priests because he's going to be doing huge damage to those, like, very evasive enemies that are, like, hard to hit. Ilya is going to be one of your best mages because she's actually a frost mage. Let me tell you about frost spells in Skyrim. They slow the enemies down and drain their stamina. And when I say slow down, I mean like they get slowed down to a snail's pace. Like they become so slow. If they were like sprinting at you, getting close to your face, and she freezes them, they're not gonna touch you. Like she is like such a good like support because of these spells, because of what frostbite does to these enemies. And not just the fact that it slows them down so that you can just pelt them with arrows or spells of your own, but like it drains their stamina so they can't sprint at you and they can't use power attacks. And they also can't block because you need stamina to block. So it just turns them into just like free targets that like aren't gonna be able to touch you. And like they'll just like be sitting there like practice dummies and you can just do whatever you want to them. Like, and she's very, very, very precise with her spells. And you see here, she has Icy Spear. That's an expert level destruction spell. And she slings those things out all day with like surgical precision. And then Ice Storm, which is like, again, big AoE destruction spell. She's slinging those out like everywhere. And then Frost Cloak. You can't even teach followers cloak spells with staffs. That's not available. But she gets Frost Cloak. So just by her being near enemies with the Frost Cloak turned on, they'll be taking frostbite damage. So that it'll be draining their stamina, slowing them down, and be doing damage. On top of the damage she's already doing with ice spells. And then she gets Iron Flesh too, which is great, and fast healing so she can heal herself. She's just amazing. One of the best followers. Not the best, but one of them. Definitely an amazing follower. And now we get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Aola, one of the best offensive mages, just for pound damage. She's only level 30, so her stats are a little low, but you can help with that by giving her powerful gear and jewelry. That will definitely give her some more survivability. But again, like I said, because she's a mage, she's not really going to get hit anyway, because she's going to be throwing out thunderbolts and incinerates, chain lightnings, fireballs. Like, she's going to be slinging those out at a distance all day and never going to get hit because they're going to be dead in like 2 seconds because she's got stupid strong spells. Thunderbolt's very rare. You don't see that often. And also, there's a bug with staffs that like you might say, oh, why not just give someone a Staff of Thunderbolt? Well, you can't, because the Staff of Thunderbolt is bugged. It's actually treated as a Staff of Lightning Bolt, which is an apprentice level destruction spell, instead of an expert level one like it should be. So basically, a Staff of Thunderbolt is the same as a Staff of Lightning Bolt, which is very disappointing, because Thunderbolt's a really good spell. But she is one of the few followers who knows that spell naturally, so that's very nice. It comes out very fast and does a lot of damage, which is great against dragons and mages and dragon priests, because it not only does it do high damage, but it drains their magicka too, so they can't use spells on you, which is super good. And she has augmented shock too, so it does even more damage. So she's just hitting so hard with these thunderbolts. And then she gets Incinerate, another rare destruction spell, because it's an expert level. You don't see that often. She gets Chain Lightning too, great, adept level destructive spells. She gets Fireball. She gets Flame Atronachs. She gets Closed Wounds, so she can heal herself. She gets Steadfast Ward and Stoneflesh, which are pretty decent. And some other perks too, like Mage Armor for Stoneflesh and Magic Resistance, which is nice always. Recovery and Regeneration, those are really good for mages too. She's just an overall, just an amazing follower. An amazing mage follower. But now we get to the top 5 followers. We're going to start from the bottom. So this is a very interesting follower that we're going to get to. This is Arania Ionith. She is the Dark Elf Azura worshipper at the statue of Azura. In order to get her, you have to give her... Like, you have to side with Azura and Arania instead of getting the Black Star, and you have to make it so you get Azura Star. The problem with that is the Black Star is way better than Azura Star. However, if you get the Black Star, which I'll admit is way better, you miss out on getting Arania. And Arania is one of the most cracked out mages in the game. Like, she is nutty, and I'll go into it in a second. So it's a very tough decision. You have to choose. Do you want Arania or do you want to get the Black Star? There's no wrong answer. They're both great at what the different things that they do, and the different things that they're worth. Like, on one hand, you have an amazing follower, on the other hand, you have an infinite soul gem that you can just use for enchanting infinitely and use for recharging your weapons infinitely. But I will say, if you don't use enchanting, probably go with her. And if you don't use enchanted weapons, probably go with her. If you do, you would probably want the Black Star. But also, she really appreciates enchanted gear. Because I'll have to say, she's only level 30, and her stats cap out, like her health, magic, and stamina, pretty high. Like, she's not that tanky. Like, she only gets like 200 something health and magica. But to help with that, if you give her enchanted gear, like enchanted armor and jewelry, to bolster her health and magica generation, it'll give her a lot more to play with for her spells and make her so much more formidable in a fight. So if you're willing to pick her and work with these and, you know, buff her up with some better gear, she can become one of the best followers in the game. Like, she has a very high ceiling. If you're willing to work with her and make her better, she is so good. Let's go into why. So spells. Thunderbolt, again, very rare. Not many people get that. Chain Lightning, Icy Spear, again, very rare. Ice Storm, Conjure Frost Atronach, Conjure Flame Atronach. She has Closed Wounds, one of the best restoration spells. Steadfast Ward, Stoneflesh, and then perks. It's Augmented Frost, so those Icy Spears and Ice Storms gonna be really strong. Augmented Shock, Thunderbolt and Chain Lightning gonna be really strong. Mage Armor gonna make her Stoneflesh even better. Magic Resistance, pretty self-explanatory. Recovery and Regeneration, so she gets good perks, amazing spells, and if you give her some great armor and jewelry, she'll be able to use those spells all day. And she'll be such a killer in a fight. Like, she will not let you down, ever. She is one of the best mage followers in the game, by far. There are very, very few people who can even compare. She is amazing. But, like I said, you gotta make a very difficult choice. So, you could miss out on all this very easily. And a lot of people do, because a lot of people don't even know how good she is as a follower. They just go with the Black Star without even thinking about her, without even really thinking about how good she is. But you got to think about it. Next time you do the Azura quest, think about this amazing follower you could have on your hands. Anyway, now we got a top 4. So all these here are going to be DLC followers. If you don't have DLC, these ones are going to be probably your best. Like Arania, Aeola, Ilia, going to be the best ones. But if you do have DLC, these 4 are going to be your top picks, all for different reasons. So you got Telge Zero. This is the mercenary that is available in Solstheim, in Raven Rock, in the little tavern in there. And this guy is going to be one of the most powerful um, warriors, but he also has some other tricks up his hand too. Like he gets lots of magical benefits too. Like he does use magic along with his his warrior capabilities. So he's got a good mix of both. But the thing is, as a warrior, he is so strong for so many reasons. Like he gets some crazy benefits. So number one, level 60. Um, and he's got one-handed as a top skill. And then he's got agile defender. So when he's wearing a full set of light armor, he's very well protected. So by default, like no one else has these perks either. Like agile defender and armsman, like you don't see those on anybody else, which means by default he is better at wearing light armor and with one-handed weapons than like everybody else in this list. So he's like way tankier and way stronger than like everybody else. So armsman is the perk that makes your one-handed attacks stronger. So by default, he's already like 60% stronger than almost like all the other followers here because of that one-handed perk being leveled up so high. And in the skill too. Then you got Atromancy, which I do believe makes his Flame Atronachs and other Atronachs, because if you give him staves, like a Conjure Frost Atronach, Conjure Storm Atronach, he will use those. And those Atronachs will last longer because of the Atromancy perk. So that's really cool. He has Augmented Flames. So, and again, if you give him a weapon that's really strong, like maybe like a Dragon Bone sword with like fire and or chaos damage on it, it's going to be really, really, really strong. Especially because you see he's got Bladesman too. So I give him a powerful sword with high base damage, like a Dragon Bone sword, enchant it with something fire related, like fire and or chaos. And then he's going to have really high damage on that sword because of his Armsman and Bladesman perks, but also because of enchantment and Augmented Flames, the enchantment's going to be really strong too. So that's going to make him a stupid, strong warrior with that sword. And then you give him staves too, like a Staff of Incinerate or a Staff of Fireball. And his Proficiency in Destruction and his Augmented Flames perk will make his fire spells from that staff very powerful. And then you want to give him some staves for some more Atronachs. So give him some Conjure Frost Atronach and Conjure Storm Atronach, some more options. Flame Atronach is good, but Storm and Atronachs are even better. Storm and Frost Atronachs are even better. And he's got the perk for Atromancy to make him last even longer. So this guy is like overall one of like the best followers. He's insane. And you can get him at the start of the game. If you can make your way to Windhelm and take a boat over to Solstheim, you can get this guy like immediately at the start of the game. A lot of these guys, a little bit of a ways until you get them. Like, and you got to do quite a lot of like, questing and leveling until you get access to them. But with him, you could get him immediately. Like, immediately. You can't say the same for everybody else in this list. Like, all you need is, like, 1,000 or so gold for the boat trip and to pay for his fee, and you got one of the best followers in the game. Just like that. So, he is readily available, and you cannot say that same for everyone else here. Anyway, so now we're getting the top 3. A lot of these ones here are going to take you a bit until you can get them. You're going to have to go through some dungeons, do some leveling, go through some quests until you get them. But if you are willing to do that, you get some of the best. Okay, so let's start. So this is Freya. Freya is the lady you meet in the Dragonborn DLC with the skull. She is the, that one guy's daughter. She has no level cap, so she will level infinitely. She has proficiency in one-handed, alteration, light armor. I know she's wearing heavy armor, but she's best in light armor. It's weird, I know. And restoration. She doesn't get a whole lot of spells, but the ones she gets are pretty good. Ebony Flesh. The most you'll see is usually like Iron Flesh. She gets Ebony Flesh. That's going to give her super good protection, along with the perks that we'll get into in a minute. Closed Wounds. That's going to be a very good restoration spell that she will use. And heal other, so I'm not sure if she can heal you with that, or if she will, but if she can, that's amazing. And then you got Critical shot, which if you give her a bow, she'll be really good at it. Custom fit, it'll make her, if you give her a full set of light armor, she'll be very well protected, along with the high efficiency light armor. Dual flurry, this is where you start seeing followers who are crazy at dual wielding. She dual wields without having to do the whole Forsworn sword axe thing. You don't have to do any of that. Give her 2 of whatever weapons you want. She will duel with them, and she will attack faster with them than any other followers. Which means she's going to have really good damage per second. So her damage output is going to be nuts. Give her 2 fast attacking weapons, like 2 swords or axes. I think it should be axes because she has hack and slash. Give him some enchantments, like chaos and absorb health. And she's going to be just slicing people down and fast. Like, she's going to be turned into a little whirlwind of death. She is crazy. One of the best warrior followers in the game by far. And she's a tank, too, because of her perks and her levels and her skills. She's got so many good things. And she's essential. Like, she's so good. She's such a good tank, warrior. She's got spells to defend herself, like, and heal herself. And she's essential. She's just, like, the perfect follower. She has everything. She has everything. You could say, if you really wanted to, that this is the best follower in the game. And I wouldn't argue. Like, critical shot. For bows, if you want to give her that. Custom fit, so she's really tanky. Dual flourish, so she's a nightmare with weapons. Fighting stance, so her power stance, her power attacks do even more damage and cost less stamina. Hack and slash makes her opponents bleed. Mage armor, even though she wears armor, I don't know why she gets that. Magic resistance 2 out of 3, which is a lot of more magic resistance than normal. Recovery, which is magic regeneration. Savage strike, which means she can actually decapitate people, which is nuts. And the fact that she's essential, so she's just nuts. She's crazy good. I can't say enough good things about her. She's just amazing. But despite everything I just said, there are 2 that you could say are better than her, which is crazy to say, but let's get into them. So here's Serana. She's a little easier to get, but all you gotta do is start the Dawnguard DLC and go through that one dungeon. I don't remember what it's called. It's that big cave you go into with the vampires and the skeletons and the spiders and all that, and the gargoyles. Yeah, that one. The first one, the first big dungeon you go through in the Dawnguard DLC. That one. Dim Hollow Crypts, that's what it's called. It's in the Pale. So everyone knows Serana, everyone loves Serana, but maybe they're loving her for wrong reasons, because she's got a lot more to love about her, not even just about, like, her personality and her backstory and, her lore and all that. Like, she's a really good follower, too. So she's got a really high ceiling as well, like, she's good by default, but you can make her even better, which is crazy. So her skill's a little strange, sneak, but, it's useful, I guess. Conjuration, and she does use it with Revenant. She's always, like, finding bodies somewhere to reanimate and use as zombies, like, all the time. She's always doing it, all the time. And the thing is, you could give her a staff of, like, Dread Zombie so that she could make even better zombies, like, or maybe, like, make her summon Dremora with, like, the Sanguine Rose, or Atronach with, some Atronach staffs you give her, like Staff of Storm Atronach or Frost Atronach. And she'll get a lot of uses out of those because of her high conjuration skill. Light armor, and she does get some perks for light armor too. One-handed. She won't use weapons often because she's got a lot of magicka, so it's very rare for her to run out of magicka, but if she does, and you give her a weapon, she'll be pretty good with it. Spells, pretty simple. She's got 3, but they're very good. And you can give her more with staffs, but these 3 are pretty good. Ice Storm, I've already told you how good ice magic is. And one second. I've already told you how good ice magic is and what it does to people. It slows them down, so they can't even, like, get close enough to you to touch you. It drains their stamina, so they can't use no dangerous power attacks that might one-shot to you or do a lot of damage to you. It also makes so they can't block because they need stamina to block. And they got Chain Lightning too. She's got the best of both. She's going to drain their stamina and their magicka, so they can't do anything to you. And, like, she's got good perks for, like, weapons too if she gets to use those. So, like, if she wanted to use a weapon and you gave her, like, a powerful sword or axe, that was enchanted with like chaos and frost damage, it would do like a crazy amount of damage because she gets augmented frost and bladesman and hack and slash and fighting stance. Um, and she's also pretty tanky too because of her high light armor and custom fit, and she's got magic resistance too, and she's a vampire, so she comes with frost resistance. Like, she's just got so many good things going for her, and she's essential. And her thralls that she makes are even better because of necromancy. Like, she's just got so many good things going for her. But you can make her even better with the use of staffs and weapons and armor and all that. Like, you can make her even better if you give her like a staff of icy spear, or like a weapon that has frost enchantment on it, or some staves that summon better zombies, or summon Jamora or Atronach. Like, she will make such good use of them. Like, she's amazing, but you can make her even better, and that's what makes her so good. And she's pretty, like, she's a little difficult to get because you have to go through a big dangerous dungeon that's pretty difficult to go through. I'm not gonna lie, but if you're willing to do that, you do get access to one of the best followers in the game, and she's essential too. And so, like, she's so good. Like, she's completely amazing at like everything she does. She's one of the best mages in the game. She's pretty tanky. She can also be really good with in the weapons department. She's just got so many good things going for her. I cannot say enough good things about Serana. She is just so good. But despite all that, there is one follower who is better than all these guys, all of them, and just easily better than all of them. So this is Rallis Sidaris. A lot of you guys might have never even heard of this guy. You might have done his quest, but if you go to Solstheim and you go to Raven Rock and you leave Raven Rock and you start going towards the Ashlands, there will be a guy out there who's like mining away with a pickaxe at the ground, and there's this whole complicated, long quest that you got to go through with him in the DLC. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a very important decision at the end of this quest. And if you make the wrong decision, you will lose access to this follower. So it's very important. When it comes time to make this decision, you need to believe him and what he is saying. Do not kill him. Do not kill him. If you kill him, you will lose him and you cannot use him as a follower. I cannot stress this enough. Do not kill him. This is the best follower in the game. And if you make the right decision, at the end of that quest, you get access to the best follower in the game. But if you don't, you will lose him. And you will lose out on this amazing, cracked out, broken, OP follower. Let me explain how good this guy is and why you want him. Okay? So, level cap of 60. Pretty good. Skills, one-handed, light armor, block, sneak. But the biggest thing we're worried about here is one-handed. And we're going to go into why. Perks, magic resistant, pretty good. Augmented flames, he doesn't use spells, but what you want to do is give him some weapons that are enchanted with chaos and fire damage. Bladesman, Bonebreaker. Bladesman is for swords, Bonebreaker is for maces. This is the first follower you actually see that has good proficiency in maces. And what Bonebreaker does is it actually ignores armor of enemies and does damage while ignoring the armor rating of the armor. So it's like he's attacking enemies while they're wearing clothes instead of armor, which is automatically going to make the weapon do more damage, which is just completely nuts. Custom Fit is for armor. Dual Flurry, again, another follower who attacks faster when dual wielding. And then this guy has freaking extra damage too. What that means is all of his damage is going to do 2 times more damage than normal. This guy is nuts. His DPS is through the roof. Give him 2 weapons, 2 swords, 2 axes, maces, whatever you want, and then enchant the crap out of him with fire enchantments. And then he's got extra damage, and then all his other perks like Savage Strike too, so his power attack's even stronger. And what you get is the most disgusting, most OP, most powerful, most cracked out damage, melee follower in the game. By far. Whether it's a sword, axe, mace, whatever you want, make sure he has one of those and then a Force 1 axe or sword. I don't remember if he's able to dual wield naturally, But if he's not, give him one of those, enchant it up, smith it up, improve it, and then give him a weapon of your choice. Again, smith it up, enchant it, improve it, give it fire enchantments, and he's gonna duel both of those, and he's just gonna be a little freaking whirlwind of death and kill everything and fast. Like it's scary. It's scary how fast this guy will just destroy enemies. Like you could put him up against the most like dangerous enemies in the game, like dragons and high level Draugr and powerful like NPCs, like maybe bandit chiefs and such, and this guy will just wreck them easily. Like he is just completely broken in every regard. Like this guy is just nuts with his qualities. Like the only thing about him that I don't like is that he's not essential. He can die. So in that aspect, Freya does have him beat. Freya cannot die, but he can. But that's the only thing. And if you give him good enough armor and you make it so his weapons are doing enough damage so he'll defeat the enemies before they defeat him, then truly you'll never have to worry about him being not essential because they'll never come close to doing enough damage to kill him anyway. So if you set him up right and you set him up proper, he is easily, by far, the single best follower in the game. But you gotta make the right choice at the end of his quest, and you gotta make sure you do not kill him because you will miss out on the best follower in the game, and you do not want to do that. If you are on a save file, you've already killed him, or maybe you don't have DLC, I would probably use one of these here. If you do have DLC, I would use Freya or Serana, maybe Teldrin. Those are very good too. But if you do have access to Rawlus, or you have not started the quest yet, please try him out. You'll thank me later. He is insane. He is so amazing as a warrior. He is completely bonkers. Like this guy is just, I cannot say enough good things about him. He is just so good in so many ways. He's got just perks for days, and it's all the right ones too, and even some that like not everybody gets, like extra damage. Like that's a very rare perk that not everyone gets. Like only 3 get it, and he gets the strongest version. And on top of that, just a bunch of other perks to help his one-handed attacks too, like Dual Flurry and Bladesman and Bonebreaker and Savage Strike, and he's so good. I just cannot say enough. But anyway, that's all the best followers in the game. Ranked from worst to best. Hope you guys learned a lot of things and really improve your knowledge of followers and learn which one of the best ones to use and which ones you should stay away from. But do remember, like I said earlier, you can make any of these guys very good with the use of enchanting, but some of these still, even if they're on the even playing field, some of these still will be better than others just from the natural perks and qualities that they have, as you see here. But hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for listening. If you listened this far, really appreciate it. Really appreciate people who watch these videos and listen to what I have to say. But hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you later. Thank you.